Hi. In this video, initially we'll try to understand what is Pareto. We'll try to look at the definition. And then later on, using Microsoft Power BI, we will try to create a report page that has an interactive visual as shown on the right side. Pareto observation states that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of causes. And we are going to use a dataset, which is world population by country, which is coming from countrymeters.info. They update this dataset almost every day. So what we can do is we can briefly look at the dataset and try to copy the link, and using Power BI option, we can try to load the data using the web connector. We will try to copy that. As you can see, these are the list of countries and dependent territories of the world by population, and they have ignored anything less than 3,000 people. They have not included, so we have only 29 countries here. So like I said, we can copy that link and go to Power BI desktop and try to use get data web connector option, so that we can paste that link in the field area for the web connector. We copy that and we paste it here, the URL. Once we paste and click OK, the navigator window will open up. And in the navigator window, Power BI is already identified a couple of tables in that web page, and it has suggested the tables, and there is a table view and web view. There is also another option where we can use add table by examples. In our case, let us try to look at the two tables. Hover over the table 1 and we see the data here. And if you go to the table 2, it's a different table, so we don't need that. We can pick up the table 1, check, and we need to make some transformations. Instead of loading, we will click on transform data. Once we do that, the Power Query Editor graphical window will open up, and there are several pre-processing which is done in the sense like Power BI has applied some steps, as you see on the right side. You can rename the query table and all those things, and we have a menu on the top: file, home, transform, etc. So we can rename this to population, or based on the need you can rename it to whatever. And we have those 5 columns up here, and as I said, we can do transformations too here. So what we could do is initially, now that we have the data in Power Query Editor window, we will start doing some transformations. And we don't need those 2 columns. We'll try to use remove columns, and we have 3 columns. Those are the columns which we need for our analysis. So we have 3 of them. Let us do step by step, and whatever steps applied will show up on the right side, applied steps panel. So we will try to rename this to country, and we have a population and also the 3rd column. Once we are happy, we can close and apply the Power BI desktop. The data will be loaded, and we have the data up here in our table view in Power BI desktop. And we have 3 columns. Whatever transformations we made in Power Query Editor, they show up here. This is exactly what we want. But in this case, we can see the last row has a total population. So we forgot to remove the last row. So let us try to quickly go back to Power Query by going to Home and clicking Transform Data. We will get this window. And in this bottom row, we want to remove. It's a very quick step. So we can remove the bottom row, remove rows, bottom row. We want to remove the bottom 1 row. So put 1 there, and we have the necessary data. So we wanted 229 countries, right? So those countries are there. Close and apply. I think that problem is resolved now. We don't have the bottom row. That's excellent. So let us try to go and look at the data in table view. Yep, this is what the data is. We are happy now. Let us try to go and perform certain steps. I would like to keep all the measures in a separate table. So what we could do is we can go enter data and name this as a measures table. So this way we have measures separately living in a measures table. So click load, and this new measures table is created, as you can see on the right. So let us try to start creating measures. So there are a couple of measures we can create, and also I've already created certain measures, so we can review step by step about those measures too. So the first step is we create a measure, and we name it as total countries, total population rather. Total population is equal to, we have three columns, remember, so we can use sum, and we have the population column, so sum, and use that column population as of date, and commit to it, and you can do all those formatting, and we have the table, we have a measure in the table. We don't need the column in the measures tables, we can remove that. So now that we have one measure, we can try to use the card visual and try to drag this total population measure onto it and do the standard formatting. So initially we will try to look what the value is in a card visual, and later on as we create a report page, we build it, we can make all those look and feel changes there. So I'm trying to make sure that we have all those formatting, and we'll change the label, and we'll change the font to Arial black, and all those things based on the needs. This is just, I just wanted to show you how it could be done. And we have a label, we can make changes here. Instead of the position above, we can make it as below. So we have the first measure ready. We have seen the value in the card visual. Now we are ready to create a couple of measures. So next is we will create the total countries measure, and we want to count. So we have a country column, remember, in the table. So once we do this, we have a count of the number of countries. So as we already know, those are 229 countries. We can change the layout, and this is a new card visual, so we can change the layout, and we can format based on the needs. We can format. This is actually up to us. Like I said, we can do all this formatting, and once we make all the changes, we have those card visuals ready. And let us go back to our table visual. As you can see, the world population share is already calculated as your percentage. So what we could do is we can either use it, or probably we can create another measure which will calculate world share. As shown here, we'll create a new measure. First, let us use SumX function, and in SumX function, we'll use the table population. And what we could do is, since we have a population world share, which is already in percentage, we'll divide by 100 so that we'll get the world's share population as shown here. We'll change that into percentage format, commit to it, and we have world share population as a percentage. Excellent. And now we can create another measure, and we have already created two measures, total population and total countries, and also just now we created world share population. And the third important thing is that we have to create a cumulative population percentage. Remember, we want to show this on the line y-axis for the line clustered columns chart. So there are a couple of methods we can do. One is we will try to first calculate the overall population. So by using a variable overall population, we will store that in that variable, and using calculate, we want to calculate total population, and we will use all selected because we want to bring certain slices from outside, and by closing that all selected around the population latest country, we get overall population. And once we return this, overall population will show up that value shown here. No surprise here, it will show the overall population of 8 billion plus, right? So if we change that into none, we have those 8.27 billion is the total population. So this is the first step, but we want to calculate the cumulative percentage, remember? So we have to use another option. So what we could do is, for now, we'll go to the DAX query view, and we will use the window function. And window function returns rows from a table based on the current row. So there is a particular syntax we have to follow, and as shown here, from indicates where the window starts, and from type we have to give a relative or absolute, and to indicates the end of the window. So this is a very important function. They have released in I think in a couple of years ago, index and offset functions. So like I said, window expects a couple of parameters, and the first is the from, wherever you want to start the window from, right? So there is a particular syntax we have to follow, and this window function will return multiple rows which are positioned within the given window. That is a definition, and it is based on the current row using either relative or offsets or absolute references. So and again, in other words, it defines a frame of a window, right? So we will start with a 0 absolute. That means the current row. Again, this is one index based, so it doesn't matter whether you have a 1 or 0 there. And we will, for the to window, we'll have 0 and absolute. And we will pass the table, all selected. We'll pass that column, all selected, latest country column. And we will use order by the total population, and we'll select descending and close the parenthesis. And once we do that, and in the return statement, we know it's a table, right? A window function returns a table, so it returns China. So that's the first row in our table, remember? So we keep on playing with those values. One relative means it will go from that particular row, number of rows back or forward based on the whether it is a negative or positive. And if you want only say you want to remove the last row, you can do that. Suppose you want to use minus 228, and relative will give you China, because our number of rows are 229, right? So now that we have briefly understood this logic, let us try to expand this. And because we are trying to do the calculate cumulative percentage, right? So we are trying to use window function that will help us to achieve that task. So we keep on playing around so that we'll get, in case if you want the second row, we can do this way. There are several ways. It's an exhaustive documentation is there in Power BI for window function. Please look through it. And for now, we'll skip through. And for the first variable, overall population, we have already seen that will return the overall population. And we will create another variable, and we'll call it as population window appropriately. And we will use, since we have already seen, we can use the same syntax. I'll speed it up and type out the code to save time. And order by total population descending, close the parenthesis. And once we know that this will return a table, right? So we'll close the parenthesis. And we have that stored in a population window. But if we wrap a SumX around this particular code block, and SumX expects a table as the first argument, this will be the table for SumX function. And we want to look at the total population, right? So total, we add the total population measure we have created and close the parenthesis for a SumX. And that way we have SumX in that population window. And next is, it's a simple thing. We will try to divide these two variables, right? We will try to divide population window by overall population. This is exactly what we have done in Python example also. Once we do that, we have the population, cumulative population percentage. There are several ways of doing it. This is the method which I thought is much simpler to understand. By using window functions, our task has become simpler. So we copy this and create a new measure, and we will name it as cumulative population percentage. Let us try to clean this up, paste the code which we have copied from DAX query view, and commit to it and change it into a percentage. Looks like I have not done that. We'll come back to it and do it. And let us try to use a table visual. Drag country onto the first column and sum of population. Drag that, and also we'll try to drag the newly created measure here. So it shows 1 because I have not done the percentage formatting. So I think it looks cool because the second is the world share percentage, and the third column is cumulative percentage. It is working. Now to save time, I've created a report page. We'll go step by step and look at the code. This is the final report page. This is exactly what we wanted, right? Pareto as percentage, cumulative percentage, and descending bars based off of a population percentage. And on the top, you can see I've created a what if parameter and used generate series, because we wanted to see in case if the user wants to look at what is the outcome, desired outcome, if he has that ability to select That is a good thing, I thought. I've added that Pareto threshold parameter as a what if parameter, and you can pause the video and look at the code. As shown here, the check marks, already we have seen those measures, but to save time, I've already typed up all the other measures because I don't want this video to become a hour or 2 hours long video. So let us go step by step and look at whatever measures which I have created. And the first measure is the number of countries causing the outcome, and this is the code. So that is the name of the measure. First, we'll count for the calculate function. We'll count the number of countries, and for the filter, we'll use all population latest country. And if cumulative population percentage is less than the threshold parameter, then we'll give you that measure value. And similarly, we have created other measures too. And this is additionally, this is not for the Pareto chart, but I just wanted to make sure that all those measures are there. Whenever user looks and selects the desired outcome, everything will look good. That's the reason why I've added more measures here. You can pause the video for every measure. You can look through the code. It's a pretty simple code. I've also added a Pareto conditional format also. So that way we have some kind of conditional formatting also available for us. And this is the clustered line and clustered column chart for country x-axis. Cumulative y-axis is world's share percentage, and cumulative percentage as the line y. So that is exactly what we wanted. So we have added those values, and I've added additionally certain measures too. As we go through the video, we'll look at those measures also. And I've added, like we have already seen, the Pareto conditional formatting. I wanted different colors for the bar. So as you can see, blue will be the vital few, and the different color will be the other countries. And also I've added subtitle. This is all like for look and feel. Based on your needs, you can tweak this code too. So I've added subtitle. You can pause the video and look at the code. It's pretty easy to understand. So I just wanted something to show up in the subtitle. So I've added that as the subtitle, conditional formatting. And whenever user makes selections, those values also change. And this is the subtitle. Like I said, you can pause the video and look at the value, look at the code rather. So this will makes based on the selections user makes on the slicer. This subtitle also change. That is a dynamic thing. And the last thing is the population causing the outcome. This is the code. I've created a variable and captured the population of countries causes and returned that. It's a very simple thing. Total population, and the filter will give you based on the selection, slicer selection. If the cumulative percentage is less than or equal to that particular thing, it will give you those values. And these are the other measures. So I've also added ABC in inventory. They will try to do ABC analysis. I thought I can also add this as a tooltip. So I've used switch condition, and based off of a couple of conditions, it will give you those high or high value or vital or those kind of things. Based on the needs, you can add those ABC things too. And the tooltips, I've added that measure, so that whenever you hover over any point, it will give you those values which are there in the tooltip, in addition to all the other values in other columns. So this is a cute way of looking at our data. So that way we have a Pareto chart. And for the vertical line axis, if you remember, we have done that in Python. I didn't find any solution, so I've kind of done a brute force. I have created a measure. It says if cumulative population percentage is less than Pareto threshold percentage value 1, otherwise 0. So I've used that and added that to, I have disabled the data labels. I don't want those data labels to show. I just wanted to show some kind of shade area. So that's the reason why I've added. So as you can see, I've tried to do using error labels, but it did not work. So I've used other way. So after creating this measure, I've added that to line y-axis. So there is, as you can see, there is some kind of a shade area. So you can see I've enabled that for only dynamic shade area. So that way, whenever user is selecting, Say, for example, if I switch to, say, 60%, as you can see, the shade area is also increasing. It is not perfect because our cumulative percentage is not a round figure. So that's the reason why we are not getting correct shade area. But at least visually, whenever a user is selecting, these are changing. So in a short time, we have created measures and created a report page. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.